Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to your football predictions for game week 9. The Premier League is back. Thankfully, the international break is over and I cannot wait for the football to start up again this weekend. Those were my predictions up there for game week 8, which feels like ages ago now. I did alright. I got one correct score with a number of correct results as well, but as always, you guys did better than me. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the YouTube comments on the last video. I'll put a load on screen now. Be sure to get down in the comments and let me know your predictions for game week 9. Thank you as well to everyone who got involved in our online league. The link is down below. It is with Superbru. There's no sponsorship or anything like that. It's just a fun way for us to put our scores online, get a league, and find out the winner, which was Kitson, who won the golden cap this week. Well done to you, mate, for getting the highest number of points. As always, get involved in the league. Comments down below. Subscribe if you are enjoying this weekly prediction series. And let's get into the games. To kick things off on Saturday at 12:30, we have got the North London derby. There's a couple of derbies this weekend. Arsenal versus Spurs. Both teams have had a really good start to the season. Arsenal, top of the league. 18 points, won 6, lost 1. Spurs sat just 1 point behind Arsenal. It goes Arsenal, Man City, Spurs on 17 points. They have not lost a game yet. Them and Man City are the only two teams still yet to lose a game this season. Could Arsenal change that this weekend? Spurs have won 5, drawn 2. So both teams, really good start of the season. And it's always a good game between these two as well. So I think it is a great way to welcome back the Premier League this weekend. Arsenal, obviously, Jesus has done really well. And then the youngsters, Saka, Martinelli, have had a great season. Martinelli's looking really, really good. Spurs, Conte is getting this team ticking. Son, who hadn't maybe started the season in the way he'd hoped, came on as a sub in the last game, scored a hat-trick. With some cracking goals as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how he does, how Harry Kane does. And I have actually backed Spurs to win this one. Yeah, I've gone 2-1. It's always a good game. It's always a close game. And it could go either way. But I've just got that feeling on this one. I could be wrong. It could be a draw. It could be 0-0. But I'm hoping for goals. And I'm hoping for a good game. On to the 3 o'clock kickoffs now, and we start off with Bournemouth versus Brentford. Both teams have had a really good start of the season. Bournemouth sat in 12th place, 7 games, 8 points for a team who have had a rollercoaster start of the season. I was going to say for many favourites to go down, and it's still very early in the season, so don't get me wrong, things could change, but have had a good start. Well, they didn't have a good start, did they? Had a poor start. Losing against Liverpool 9-0 and sacked Scott Parker, and then O'Neill's come in and has seemingly just kind of changed things up. I think he's, more than anything, just kind of given confidence back to the players, and they've reacted really well to it. O'Neill is the favourite to take the Bournemouth job on a permanent basis. I think it'll be interesting to see what Bournemouth do, potentially hold off, see how he does a little bit longer. And at home against a Brentford side who are sat in 9th place, who have also had a good start, 9 points from 7 games, and it's all about Tony right now, isn't it? Looking really good at Brentford. Got the recognition with his England call-up as well. Could he sneak his way into that World Cup squad? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see how he does in this game as well. I've been a little bit boring here. I've gone 1-1. That was a hard one to call. Bournemouth are doing really good right now, and they are doing really good, and it'll be interesting to see how long Gary O'Neill can keep this oomph of Bournemouth. I think they can go a little bit longer, but I think it might fall off at some point, just because they are overperforming right now with that kind of manager boost that O'Neill's given them. If they can run with that to the end of the season, big up. But that's why I say that could they potentially look to bring a manager in just to try and sustain that. And Brentford have done really well. So if I had to back a team to win, I would go Brentford. But I'm going to back the draw on this one. Next up, we have got Crystal Palace taking on Chelsea. So Palace have had an okay start to the season. 6 points from 6 games. Won 1, drawn 3, lost 2. That puts them in 16th place. But, I mean, are only, I think, 2 or 3 points between 8th or 9th place. So it is still very close. It is still very early in the season. But it just shows what a competitive start the season has been. They are going to need Zaha on form as they welcome a Chelsea side who are another team who no doubt have a new manager boost right now. A lot of eyes will be on Chelsea this weekend to see how Graham Potter gets on in his new role. Chelsea are another team who've had a bit of a whirlwind summer and season, bringing in all these players. Tuchel trying to get it working, and then all of a sudden he's out the door and Graham Potter's come in. So I think it will be very interesting to see how Chelsea line up. What has he been able to kind of imprint on this Chelsea side over the international break? And I have backed them to win it. I've gone 2-0 Chelsea. I think on paper they are the better side and will probably be the favourites going into this one. I think Palace have a chance to possibly hit a Chelsea side who maybe haven't quite adjusted to the new manager yet. But I think Potter will have them buzzing for this one, so I've backed the Chelsea win. Next up, we have got Fulham taking on Newcastle United. So Fulham, another promoted side who are not just doing well, they're doing very well. Currently sat 6th in the Premier League right now. Have already won 3 games, lost 2, drawn 2, and Mitrovic is well and truly on fire. He is doing very, very well right now. And this is a bit of what people are calling it, the Mitro derby. Obviously, Mitro was at Newcastle United previously, was moved on by Rafa Benitez, who was not a fan of his. He went to Fulham, he's picked himself up. He had the stint in the Premier League with Fulham where he wasn't at his best. They went back down, broke records in the Championship for goals, and he's come back up this season. And the question was, could he do it this time around? And obviously it is still early, but it's a breath of fresh air watching Fulham play right now and how well Mitro's doing. He's running defences ragged, and I think will give Newcastle some trouble this weekend. I think the positive for Newcastle is that we have been quite defensively solid so far this season. Newcastle, I think, have played some good football so far. Sat in 10th place, quite a few draws, won 1, lost 1, and then draws across the board for every other game. And I think Newcastle have been, the Premier League admitted, the referees admitted that the VAR goal that was disallowed should have been given. That would have been 3 more points on the board. There's been some decisions this season that I think have kind of, not rewarded Newcastle for maybe some of the football they have played, but overall have been good. The trouble for Newcastle is injuries. Stood here right now, I don't know who Newcastle are going to play in the team this weekend because there's been so many players out. It's hoped that Wilson, St. Max, Bruno could be fit, but it's understood that Isak and Wood won't be. It's a total who knows of what's going to happen this weekend. The hope is Newcastle will have a fit striker to play. If Wilson's not back, could we play Joe Linton up top? I mean, he has played there, but we know how good he is in the middle. I don't really want to put him there. We will have to wait and see if Eddie Howe says anything otherwise. I have gone 1-1. Newcastle have been drawn quite a few games. Fulham are looking really good. And I think a draw away from home for a Newcastle side who have had those injury troubles right now is probably a good bet. Should we wheel out Maxi, Wilson, Isak's back, Bruno's back, then maybe we've got a good chance here. But I think generally a point is not a bad one. And if you are a Newcastle fan, I'll have a full preview for the game tomorrow, so keep your eyes out for that. Next up, we have got Liverpool taking on Brighton. Liverpool in 8th place, Brighton in 4th place. Had you told me that Liverpool would be behind Brighton in the league at this point in the season, I don't know if I would have believed you. But it just shows how well Brighton have been doing so far and what a rocky start Liverpool have had to this season. Liverpool currently on 9 points. Arsenal in top are on 18. Arsenal have double the amount of points that Liverpool do right now. And it is early days, but Man City just almost double the points of Liverpool. they've given these teams a big head start, and it's not to say that Liverpool can't come back for it, but Klopp is going to have to get these players going. Salah specifically hasn't really started the season too great. The thing with Salah is he can turn it on when he wants. He could go into this Brighton game and score a hat-trick, and I don't think anyone would be surprised because he's such a good player. But they're going to have to start doing it quick because they're giving these teams a little bit of a lead right now. Brighton will be an interesting one. They've obviously lost Potter, but they've acted fast. They've got the new manager in, De Zerbi, was Shakhtar Donetsk previously, has managed a number of teams. They've acted quick, and Brighton are very well structured. They knew what they're looking for. They wanted to bring someone in fast, and they've gone out and they've done that. We'll have to see how they get on this weekend. Having said that, I have backed Liverpool. I've gone 2-1 at the end of the day. They've got such a good side, and although it's not clicking right now, or hasn't been, if they turn it on, they can beat pretty much anyone, as we've seen in the world, not just the Premier League. So we will see in this one. I've backed Liverpool, but it'll be interesting to see how Brighton do with the new manager. And the final 3 o'clock kickoff, we have got Southampton taking on Everton. So two teams here who have had a very similar start to the season, both on 7 points. Southampton in 14th, Everton in 13th. Everton really took some time to get going this season. To be in 13th place on 7 points now is not bad at all for both of these sides. You know, as I say, just a couple of points off Europa League conference spots. That's how close the league is. And for an Everton side who were down the bottom of the league for the start of this season, really couldn't get themselves going. Anthony Gordon, I think, is probably their one and only attacking threat right now, but has been doing well. Frank Lampard started to get a bit of a tune out of this side, and I do believe Calvert-Lewin is close to return as well, which is great news for them. Southampton, it's all about James Ward-Prowse, isn't it? He is another player who got his England call-up, got that recognition for how he's been playing there. Could he sneak into the World Cup side? Maybe. I've talked about Tony already. Of the two, I would probably say Tony's got the more likely chance, but Ward-Prowse getting that recognition. In terms of a scoreline, could this be one for the ages with goals galore? Maybe. But I've got 0-0. If I had to predict, I think it could maybe go 1-0 either way. But I think a draw is what I predict to happen in this one. On to the 5:30 kickoff now. We have got West Ham taking on Wolves. So these are two teams who haven't had the greatest of starts to the season. West Ham sat in 18th, Wolves down in 17th. West Ham won 1, drawn 1, lost 4. David Moyes, and West Ham went out, spent the money this summer, brought in a number of players. Now they need to get it going. Paqueta's come in, was a player who was linked with Newcastle for a while, hasn't quite hit the mark that West Ham were hoping for, and just need to really kind of, I think, have gone away for the international break, need to come back fresh start and hit the ground running now. Taking on a Wolves side who had started the season slow, as I say, hadn't won in 12 games because they hadn't won at the end of last season. They got that win under their belt. They did, however, lose against Man City since then, but are now hoping to really try and push on now. West Ham and Wolves, two sides that at the start of the season, may well have back to kind of be fighting for Europa League spots. And as I say, it's still early days. They could well go out and win 2 or 3 games and all of a sudden they're up there. But that's what they need to do. They both need to go out and do that. Wolves, could we see Diego Costa feature in this game? If so, that will be entertaining to see how he gets on. I've backed West Ham. I've actually gone 2-0 West Ham. I've mentioned there about going away, fresh start, what can they do now? They've got a lot of players there who are very good, and they just need to get them going. So I've backed them on this one to turn the season around from this weekend and see how they get on. On to the Sunday now at 2 o'clock. We have got Manchester City taking on Manchester United. The Manchester derby. Man City currently sat in 3rd place. Have had a great start of the season. Did we expect anything less, to be honest? They haven't lost a game yet. They've won 5, they've drawn 2, and Haaland is the man that everybody's watching, everybody's talking about. He's the man in everybody's fantasy team. He's the captain of everybody's fantasy team, and has done extremely well, hasn't he? Scoring goals for fun, in a very good, already a good side. And we've said it for years that they need that striker to come in. You know, it's funny how they talked about them playing the false nine and had Sterling in there, and they were doing a few different things, but it was quite clear that Pep wanted a striker. You know, he tried to get Harry Kane, couldn't do that. He tried to get a few players, he tried to get Ronaldo, funnily enough. Haaland's the man who's come in, and he is really rocking it right now. Taking on a Manchester United side who did not have the start of the season that they wanted, but Ten Hag had some difficult decisions to make, some players to drop out of the side, and since then have gone on to win the last 4 Premier League games in a row. He's got them working, he's got them clicking, and it'll be interesting to see how they kind of progress through this season as he looks to, you know, bring some of those players back into the phrase. I mean, Rashford, you know, has been given a new lease of life under Ten Hag, has looked really good. A player, talking of fantasy football, another player who people have been putting in as he has started to look really good. And for this one, it's a derby. And generally, any Premier League game, regardless of who it is, it's always a competitive game. But this one, I think, could be a good watch, certainly. I have backed Man City, though. I've gone 3-1 Manchester City. I'm hoping to see goals. I think Man United probably will get 1 or 2. But it's with City and Haaland right now. I would probably not back them to lose against any team in the world, you know, right now, because they are looking that good. But could Manchester United get an early goal, put them under pressure? We'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts for that one down below. At 4:30 on the Sunday, we have got Leeds taking on Aston Villa. So Leeds had a very strong start to the season. Jesse Marsch really getting these guys going. There was question marks at the start of the season after seeing a few players go. But the players they've brought in and some of the guys who maybe hadn't been as involved in the side have really stepped up. You look at Harrison, who was a big feature for Leeds last season, but he has now really pushed himself to the front. You look at Rodrigo, who had a great start of the season, but the trouble is, they've had a few injuries, and in the last few games have kind of trailed off a little bit. Aston Villa had a poor start. Well, I say that. They got that win, I think, second game of the season, but generally have lost kind of the start of the season. They've started to pick up a little bit now. I've mentioned Watkins a couple of times. He's a player that I like. He's started really trying to get involved that little bit more. Bailey, a player that people have been talking about quite a lot as to how best to use him. He's kind of started coming into it as well. Steven Gerrard, you know, a man who was questioned really at the start of the season as to how could he really push Villa to that next level. Hasn't really done that so far, but I think it's in there. We'll have to just see how they get on. I have backed Leeds in this game. I've gone for a 2-1. There's always goals when Leeds are involved, so hopefully it's on telly, so hopefully it's a good one to watch. I like Jesse Marsch. I think he's coming in, it's quite, as I say, refreshing, you know, to see him come over and kind of doing what he's doing at Leeds. He's keeping the fun element. He wants the goals. He wants to attack. It's the side that Leeds are kind of known for now since they've kind of come up and they've really kind of shown, you know, how to try and play football. I'm hoping he can continue doing that there. And to finish things off on the Monday night at 8 o'clock, we have got two teams who have not had a good start to the season. Leicester taking on Nottingham Forest. Leicester just 1 point so far, 1 draw, 6 losses. It's interestingly enough, they've actually played some reasonable football at times. I think Maddison has looked really good. It's very strange to say that Maddison has had a good start of the season when their team has got 1 point. There is questions over Brendan Rodgers. I mean, Leicester as a side were one of the only teams in Europe who didn't go and purchase players this summer, which just shows and reflects. Well, I was going to say that when we get onto Nottingham Forest. I was going to say it shows that really they haven't added. And really, since that league win, and then they were in the Champions League, and then you look at Vardy, who was a fantastic player, but trying to really help and add to that. I think Brendan Rodgers is probably one of the favourites to lose his job next in the Premier League. So a win in this game, we'll talk about the international break, a fresh start, a fresh chance to come out and get a new start. And as I say, it's still early days, 2 or 3 wins and they're up in the other end. So taking on a Nottingham Forest side who did the opposite, didn't it? They probably bought the most players of any team. But of the promoted sides, spent the money, brought the players in, doing the worst of the promoted sides. Now, I really like Steve Cooper, the manager there. Going into the Premier League is a tough one, because if you don't go out and spend and it doesn't work, more often than not, you back down. So they really have gone out and tried to back the manager, back the side, bring these players in. They've just got to get them working. And as a prediction for this one, I've gone 1-1. I think there's certainly a chance here for both sides to relight the season, get a win, get the confidence. I think if I had to back a side here, I would probably back Leicester, and I'd probably go for probably a boring 1-0. But to get that win, to get the confidence back, Leicester have got good players. Nottingham Forest have got great players as well if they can get them playing together. I've gone 1-1. And that is it, guys. So those are my predictions up there for Game Week 9. Be sure to get your predictions down in the YouTube comments below. As always, I go through all of your comments and try and shout out a few in the next video. And if you would like to get involved in our little online league, the link is in the description. Go and take a look. It's free to do it. It's a good way to put your predictions in and just get involved, really. Drop a like if you have enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I know loads of you guys watch my prediction videos every week but still haven't hit that big red button. We do this every week for every weekend of Premier League football, and I do plan on doing it for, you know, maybe the World Cup and stuff in I was going to say in the summer, in the winter as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy the football, and I'll catch you later.